Act 1, Scene 8. Hospital Ward. Month 4, Evening. Stephanie is standing in the center of the room, addressing the imaginary audience seated beyond the fourth wall. "Ladies and gentlemen," she says in her professional announcer voice, "welcome to the final match of the International Toilet Racing Championship. We are here live at Grace Memorial, the site of some of the most powerful toilets in the world. So let's not waste any more time and plunge right in, shall we?" From her bed, Lorca laughs. "Oh, that is so bad." Stephanie flashes her a quick smile and then gets back to business. "Our competitors tonight are two of the best toilet racers in the sport." Gesturing stage right center, she says, "In this corner, a man who's always on a roll, the Prince of Plumbing, Neil the Real Deal Steele." Lorca applauds enthusiastically as Neil struts out. In his hand, he holds the end of a long streamer of toilet paper. Playing to the imaginary crowd, he presents the end of the streamer to Stephanie with a flourish, then stands with his arms folded, looking as athletic, confident, and formidable as possible. Stephanie continues, gesturing stage left center. "And in this corner, the man who has a handle on it all, the king of the commode, Greg the Brave." Lorca applauds enthusiastically as Greg bounces out WWF style with the end of a toilet paper streamer held high. He presents it to Stephanie with a bow. For a bit, he postures to the audience, grinning broadly. Then he turns to Stephanie with a frown. He complains, "It's supposed to be Greg the Brave. Fart." "I'm not saying that," Stephanie says firmly. "Good for you, Stephanie," Lorca commends. Greg decides not to try to move the mountain. Facing Neil with eyes narrowed, he says in a sneering, threatening voice, "You're going down, Steele. Get it? Going down." Neil glowers and shoots back. "Not a chance, brave fart." "Neil!" Stephanie exclaims, exasperated. "What? It's funny." Stephanie shakes her head, suppressing a laugh. Then, resuming her announcer demeanor, she says loudly, "All right, here we go. Contestants, to your toilets." The boys dash off to their respective sides. Stephanie holds the two ends of the toilet paper in front of her, one in each hand. "Are you ready, Neil?" she calls. "I'm ready." "Greg, are you ready?" "Ready." "Okay, this is it. The battle for the coveted ICTP trophy." Holding the toilet paper end securely in her hands, Stephanie calls out, "On your marks, get set, flush!" She throws the ends of the toilet paper streamers high into the air as the powerful toilets flush. The streamers are pulled rapidly away. Greg's disappears first. Stephanie cries, "And the winner is the king of the commode, Greg the Brave!" Greg runs triumphantly back into the room, while Neil returns slowly and dejectedly, his shoulders slumped in defeat. "Yes, I am the champion toilet racer of all time," Greg boasts, dancing, his arms raised high. Stephanie continues, "Will the lovely Lorca please bring out the prize?" Lorca joins Stephanie in the center of the room, holding a trophy constructed of empty toilet paper rolls held together with medical tape. She displays the trophy while smiling and posturing obnoxiously like a game show model presenting a product on television. Stephanie takes the trophy in both hands. "I present you, Greg the Brave, with this prize that you strained so hard to achieve, the spectacular and coveted ICTP trophy." She bows slightly as she hands the trophy to Greg, who grabs it and runs around the ward celebrating. Lorca continues to posture and smile broadly. Stephanie applauds enthusiastically, Neil claps grudgingly. Triumphant, Greg proudly places the trophy on his nightstand. Neil asks Greg, "Did you cheat?" "No way! How could I? I'm just better at it than you. It's an art." Neil shakes his head. "Man, I don't understand it. How many squares are you starting off with in the toilet?" "Right," says the newly crowned champion. "Like I'm gonna give away all my secrets to you. Want to go again?" "No, I've had it for tonight. I'm feeling pretty drained." "Yeah," Greg confirms. "You look kind of flushed. Tomorrow we do best out of 7. Neil waves him off. The teens get back on their beds. Greg plucks aimlessly on his guitar. Neil reclines on his bed, staring at the ceiling. Lorca lies with her back to the others, and Stephanie looks wistfully through her photo album. Mostly, they're doing nothing. This empty space of time reveals their boredom. They've been there long enough that the novelty of being in a new situation, and even of living with each other, has worn off, and they are feeling the confinement. Dr. Carey enters the room, apparently in a hurry. Under her lab coat, she's in a nice dress, and she's wearing heels. "Hello all," she says brightly. "I won't disturb you for long. I just have to check Neil before I go." Greg sits up, astonished. "Whoa, Dr. C! You're looking hot tonight." "Wow," Stephanie says. "Your hair looks really nice." "I love your shoes," Lorca says. As Chris checks his eyes with a pen light, Neil comments, "And she smells good, too." Pocketing her pen light, Chris just smiles. Greg sits forward and asks, "So, who's the lucky guy?" "Just a friend," Chris says nonchalantly. The teens erupt in hoots and teasing sounds. Chris says quickly, "That's enough, or I'll order enemas for all of you." Instantly, the teens stop and sit silently, looking as innocent as turnips. Chris makes notes on Neil's chart and asks him, "Are you still having pain?" "No, ma'am." "Good. Let Lisa know right away if you get another headache. That's it for tonight. I'll see you all tomorrow. Good night, everyone." As their doctor nears the exit, Greg calls out, "Just remember, if it doesn't work out, I'll be here, waiting patiently. Get it? Patiently?" The teens groan in unison. "Good night, Greg," Chris says, and steps out of the room. "Night," Greg mutters. As Stephanie puts her photos in her top drawer, she comments, "Boy, she looked nice." Yeah, Greg grumbles. "A lot of good it does me. She's going out and I'm stuck here in lockdown with all the other inmates." "Why do you call us that?" Lorca asks, annoyed. Greg leans back on his bed. "The way I see it, we're all prisoners in our tortured bodies, every one of us on death row." "That's really grim," Stephanie objects. "Can't you think of another way to talk about us?" "How about soldiers?" Neil suggests. "We're battling diseases that have laid us low. We're in the hospital among the mortally wounded, and outside in the sunshine, civilians stroll by, never knowing inside this plain, ordinary building, life and death continue to wage war day after day." Musing, Stephanie says, "That's good, Neil." The room settles into silence. Lorca is reading a novel. Neil is making notes in his notebook. Stephanie reads her Bible. On his back, Greg plucks at his guitar, then sets it aside. Sitting up, he begins to narrate. "So, this lawyer gets to the pearly gates, and he sees St. Peter sitting there with a big book." Lorca looks up and asks, "Why is it always a lawyer?" Greg stands up. "Okay, so this duck gets to the pearly gates. And why is it always St. Peter?" Stephanie asks. "The Bible doesn't say anything about St. Peter sitting at the pearly gates." Greg thinks for a moment, then begins again. "Okay, so this duck gets to the pearly gates and sees St. Jamal of Nashville. And who says there's a heaven anyway? Neil comments. Or hell, for that matter. Look, there's no need to argue, Greg says with a wave of his hand. We can agree to disagree, and after we croak, we can all compare notes on the other side. If there is an other side, Neil says. Of course there is, says Stephanie. Is that why you read your Bible so much? Greg asks, cramming for your final? Very funny, Stephanie says indignantly. Lorca looks at Neil with concern. Do you really believe there's nothing? That after you die, you just disappear or something? Yeah, poof, gone, just like that. I'm actually looking forward to it. How depressing, says Lorca. I don't think so, Neil replies. Well, my life hasn't been peaches and tulips, Lorca admits, but I'd still like to stick around and see if I can't make it better. You sound as if you're giving up already. Not giving up, Neil explains. Giving in to peace and quiet. I won't have to be frustrated about things I can't do anything about. Chemical waste pouring into our rivers, high-powered towers that fry your brains, foods filled with neurotoxins and plastics. But not to be anymore, Lorca replies. Just poof, nothing. I don't think we just disappear, Stephanie says. I believe there's a real place called heaven where we can be with God forever. Heaven's not a bad idea, Greg says. Pink clouds, angels singing, streets of gold, perfect bodies, heavenly bodies. Neil sits forward and says with enthusiasm, Hey, maybe it's like in video games. The more points you have, the more power you get. Level 1, flight. Level 2, you get to direct sunsets for a week. Stephanie is not amused. You're both making fun of something you know nothing about. Not really, says Greg. If that's what you want, dream on. Me? I wish I could believe in it, but I don't need to comfort myself with some fabricated... I don't believe it's fabricated, Greg, Stephanie interrupts, offended. Don't worry about it, Greg says. We'll find out for sure soon enough. In the meantime, we can enjoy today, or tonight, as the case may be. After all, we know, for now, we're okay. Maybe, Lorca mutters. What do you mean, maybe? Lorca, you're such a harbinger of doom. I'm just being realistic, she says. You and Neil seem to be able to goof around and have a jolly time, as if we're at camp or something. You don't seem to realize that we are terminally ill. We are going to die. D-I-E. And soon. Have you even read the description of Deshores? I have, Neil says. I didn't care for it much. I decided to have a different disease, one with more symptoms but less pain. Lorca's voice rises. A different disease? What's wrong with you, Neil? Well, he says, I used to have Deshores, but now I have acid reflux. You're insufferable, Lorca says, shaking her head. Look, Neil says, everybody's gonna die someday. It's the consequence of life. But we have a terminal disease. Life is a terminal disease, Neil replies. Lorca frowns. Let me put it another way. This is not like having detention. We have a death sentence. Others may be serving life imprisonment with no hope of parole, but we're headed for the electric chair, or however they do it these days. We're already on our way down that last mile. And none of us will get out alive, says Greg. I've thought about that, says Neil. I'd rather have lethal injection. Electrocution sounds so messy. Exasperated, Lorca gets up and walks frowning toward the boys. I can't believe it, she exclaims. You guys still aren't taking this seriously. She hurls her book at Greg, who catches it and gets back on his bed and glances through it while she continues to speak. Think about it. We've already been here 4 months. Do you understand what that means? If Dr. Carey doesn't find a cure, we only have a little while left. That's all. And you two spend your time playing Death Drop. Well, what do you think we should do? Greg retorts. Sit here and wait for the next symptom to hit? That would drive me crazy. I think you're making a big mistake, Lorca says. If you don't pay attention, you won't be prepared for whatever comes next. If I obsess on it the way you do, I'll die 1,000 deaths. Greg glowers. Who wants to live like that? Lorca turns and goes back to her bed. Quietly, she says, I simply want to know what to expect. You can always ask Dr. Carey, Stephanie suggests. She knows more about it than anyone else on the planet. She brushes me off, Lorca complains. She never even looks at me. I feel like a lab rat. But she's very diligent. She checks on us all the time. But does she really care about us? Or are we a project, a cause, a quest? I think she's been nicer lately. I think she's got a boyfriend, so she's caught up in that romantic swill. We just happen to get the fallout. Why are you so hostile towards anything romantic? Greg grumbles. You reject everything that even hints at it. He gets up and starts towards Lorca. Waving her book in the air, he announces, Oh, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this woman of reason, this passionless rationalist, reads sappy love stories. He tosses the book back to Lorca. They happen to be literary classics, she says, catching her book and putting it on her nightstand. You're living vicariously, says Greg, returning to his bed. That's not living at all. You can't just function from the neck up. You think too much. There's more to life than brains. Oh, really? What? Bodies? Sure, bodies. What's wrong with bodies? Mine hurts. But not all the time, Stephanie says. Not yet, Lorca says, but more than before. Well, we can be grateful for whatever comfort we still have, Stephanie says, in a voice that's meant to be encouraging. Greg shoots a disgruntled look across the room. Stephanie, you're getting on my nerves. But gratitude helps you bear your troubles. Not everyone can be as grateful as you, Greg snaps. Why do you insist on looking on the bright side? Why can't we have a good gripe without you pushing your happy thoughts? A merry heart doeth good like medicine, Stephanie protests. Greg retorts bitterly. Well, I'm sorry. I just don't think every cloud has a silver lining. Some things just stink, and yours is one of them. I have it too, Stephanie says quietly. Greg fires back. I know that. What's the point? Well, I'm not exactly thrilled either. So what are you trying to say? That you can handle it better than anybody else? I didn't say that. You implied it. I did not. Don't tell me what I implied. I am very careful what I imply, and I most certainly did not. Maybe you're not as careful as you think, Greg cuts in. You hurt people too. You don't say things perfectly. Why are you attacking me? Stephanie asks. I'm not putting you down. It sure sounded like it. I meant we have to encourage each other, not drag each other down. I wasn't dragging. I was griping, airing out. So stop trying to make me better. I'm sorry I can't be as perfect as you. Don't appreciate that, Greg. I'm not perfect, and I'm not trying to make you think I am. I'm dealing with things the only way I know how. Okay, then. Greg says. Live and let live. Or die and let die, Neil contributes. Why are you mocking me? Stephanie cries. Why are you taking this so personally? Greg says with a glare. You're too sensitive. You're too insensitive, she says, glaring back. Greg mocks. You're so positive. Eyes blazing, Stephanie gets up and starts walking toward Greg. You think I was born this way? I have to work at it. I have to shut out all the cruelty and the violence, and if I don't struggle every minute to counteract the horror around me, it will overwhelm me. Don't you understand? I'm trying not to drown, and you're dragging me under. I'm trying to keep. Against her will, tears begin to stream down her cheeks. She rushes back to her bed and hides her face in her covers. Oh, great, Greg growls. Now we're going to have a crying female on our hands, and I'm going to be blamed for it. It's always my fault. I hurt your little feelings. At least I'm not making jokes right now. That should make Lorca happy. Don't be like that, man, Neil says. But it bugs me, Greg complains. We're stuck in this lousy room, and I'm used to wide open spaces. I long for the road less traveled, and here I am on the road most traveled. And who do I have for company? The Ice Queen and Saint Stephanie. Why can't I just talk? Why is everything I say wrong? Why is everyone so sensitive? Do I have to worry about everyone's feelings, even in my death room? Stephanie raises her head. Don't call it that, she says angrily. Why not? Greg snaps, his own anger spilling over. Lorca wants us to get real. This is real. This is where we kick the bucket. Buy the farm. That's enough, Greg. We get the point, Stephanie says, wiping tears from her face. Push up daisies. Cease to exist, Neil says cheerfully. Please, Neil, Greg taunts. Enter into the promised land. Go to your final reward. Pass on, pass away, Neil adds. Meet the Grim Reaper. Croak, cash in your chips. Stop it, Greg. Greg ignores her. Go 6 feet under. Cross that narrow river. Go to the happy hunting ground. Meet your maker. Stephanie has had it. Grabbing her pillow, she rushes at Greg, shouting, Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Furiously, she starts whacking him with her pillow as hard as she can. Get him, Stephanie! Lorca cries, grabbing her pillow and entering into the fray. Neil takes up his pillow, strikes a heroic pose, and declares, I'll save you, Cabana Boy! Wielding his pillow, Neil begins to smack the girls with it, but not hard. Stephanie and Lorca continue their furious attack on the boys, pillows whacking and smacking and colliding until all of them tumble into a heap. Greg starts laughing, then Neil, then Lorca. All of them collapsed on the floor, relieved of the tension and fear that has been building up inside of them. Stephanie is not laughing. Still upset, she whacks Greg hard again. Whoa, Stephanie, you pack a mean wallop. I better not mess with you. I don't like you. Yes, you do. No, I really don't. I mean it, Greg. I'm tired of your nonsense and I want it to stop. Now. And you're not going to pick on me anymore. Yes, dear, Greg says humbly. And stop picking on Lorca. Stephanie smacks Neil with the pillow. You too, she says, glaring at him. I wouldn't dream of it, Neil says. Greg holds up both hands. Okay, all right already. I give up. I repent. So now you have to like me again. Stephanie's eyes narrow. Who says? Greg pauses, then says with a smug look, Jesus. Looking trapped, Stephanie hesitates, then says, You don't believe in God. I never said that. I said I didn't know. So say you like me.
You like me.
Okay, I know it's hard for you to do things like this, so just squeeze my hand and that'll mean that you like me again. Greg stands up and holds his hand out to her. For a moment, Stephanie looks at it disdainfully, then gives it a tiny, two-fingered pinch. Good enough, Greg grins. He walks a few steps away, turns, and says, So, there was this duck.